Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 tips for starting a video production company. The first thing we want to talk about is that it's not an overnight thing. So it takes a very long time to get to a point where you're actually operating a business.
Yeah, I think that goes for all businesses, but especially video production. It takes a long time to get, the right clientele and kind of find your niche in the market.
Yeah, I would say we still don't really have a niche, even though I think our thing is just making as high of a quality product for whatever business we're dealing with. I guess our niche would more so be small business, but that's not really a niche. There's so many different things we can do. We do product videos for different businesses. We do corporate video. We don't do any like weddings or anything like that, but we do mostly like just overall general video production.
The point that I want to make about the no overnight success thing that Adam was talking about is we had a few low points where we were slow with clients and we didn't have a ton going on. And for a business, I think that's the most important time to market yourself as a business. So when during that time, we were heavy on YouTube and Instagram trying to create, like a following so that we had more exposure in the community around us. So I think it's important to not get discouraged when you don't have clients right away. And the biggest thing you can do for yourself is to market your business. And with that, you can show your capabilities through marketing through your own Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, it's tough because when you're not busy, you have to look at it like, why am I not busy and what can I do to be busy? So whether that's, it might not be a job rolling in the next day, but like Rick said, we were making content for YouTube and just continuing to practice and hone our skills. And eventually people saw that. And that's how we started to get a lot of clients, I feel like, in my opinion. And now we have people coming to us to make videos for YouTube and social media. So that makes perfect sense. You have to practice what you preach. We had to put out good content that people enjoy watching.
We've definitely had a few of our bigger clients actually find us through Instagram, and that was like a pretty eye-opening thing for us to show us, that we really have to keep up on Instagram, and it's not just like a thing that we like to do every once in a while. It's a thing that we really try to put a lot of effort into and post at least, once a week.
Yeah, so in the day-to-day when you are sitting there thinking, why am I not getting clients? Why am I not getting emails? Why isn't the phone ringing? That's something to take into consideration, the fact that you could be doing small things like that, making content for social media, queuing stuff up so that when you do get busy, you're able to continuously market your video, because when you do get busy and then it all stops, that's when you notice it's kind of like a roller coaster, opposed to if you're constantly putting content out and constantly doing work, then it kind of evens out and you're able to stay busy but also continue to market your business.
I would say once you have a foothold with, a few clients under your belt and, you have social media and everything set up like an Instagram and maybe YouTube and stuff, that's when I would start looking into maybe a studio space or some kind of space away from home where you can work on your editing and work on your, business related stuff, because that was one thing for us that really, I guess, legitimized our business. Going from my house to like a studio space or an office really, made the difference for me and our clients, because, they could come to a physical location and meet with us and they could see, our equipment, they could see where we do all of our work. And I think that was really powerful, but I wouldn't make that your first priority. For us, that was kind of like a second thought or like an afterthought after we had already like a clientele under us. When we started, Adam had already worked for a few local companies and had kind of like a foothold in the industry. So we were fortunate with that. And we were working from his house actually for a while we've talked about this like so in almost every video we've ever made.
A picture.
Yeah, there'll be a picture of like the little tiny office. But that's fine for a while. Having a home office is great. And if that works for you, that's great. But for us, it was just way easier, and it was very beneficial for us to have a physical space for our clients and just for us in general, for our sanity, being able to leave the house, go to the office, I feel like it made us work harder because we realized like, oh wow, we have this space now, our business is turning into something real. And also on top of that, it kind of forces you to, really heavily look for clients, because now you have overhead. Now you have to pay for rent, you have to pay for utilities in a completely different place. But on the other hand, having clients come here and see, like a physical space that's attached to your business, I think is really powerful and will make your business very legitimate.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I like how you're mentioning it's not just legitimizing it for the client, but it's also for us. Like, it was more of a business. We had a place to go into work. So had set hours, or at least a set place where you can go and work. And that made a huge difference, because when it's your spare bedroom you're working out of, you tend to, gravitate towards not going in there because you have that option when you're at home. So I think I was pretty good about it for a long time, but it's difficult to every day wake up and go to work when it's at your house. That's a huge challenge that having a actual place really helped solve, or at least make it easier to come into work and actually get stuff done.
I guess this goes back to how we talked about before with the no overnight success. We started out with our studio was about just under 1,000 square feet. It was, I guess, small in terms of a studio. It was, pretty reasonable. There was a small shooting space that we had and a small post-production area. We just recently expanded, and now we have 3,000 square feet about, and we have this room and then the other studio next to it. And I would say to start off, any studio that's between 500 to 1,000 square feet is more than enough. Like I said, it's also nice to just have something away from home where you can, go away and, bring your business with you. And then when you go home, leave the business behind. And also, it gives you, more freedom, like Adam said, with lighting and with audio. There's a lot more you can control in a studio rather than your house, because there's not much you can do in your house, in terms of like soundproofing and, lighting and stuff like that. There's a lot less, that you have to control. So.
Yeah, and I found myself at home, like, having less materials was a necessity because it was my house. I didn't want to have all these flags and cards and everything laying around that just kind of looks like junk, even though it had a specific purpose. And being able to store that stuff here gives us the ability to, when we are shooting, have it accessible so that we don't have to run out and get extra things, which is just another deterrent in terms of like actually finishing a project. So there's just so much more possibility to create when the space is designed to create. So going right off of that, a big thing we found in the beginning was, we thought that we were going to have to be doing a lot of advertising. We set up our social media pages really well and our Google business, and spent a lot of time on the website, which all of those things definitely helped. But what helped even more was just telling people about our business and creating personal connections with people, and what we would refer to as word of mouth kind of spread like wildfire. And it's more often we're getting hot leads from something like that, opposed to people that are reaching out over social media are usually on the fence, or people that we're reaching out to, it's a bit more on the fence. But the people that we know, or somebody who knows somebody, and they contact you to do work for them, that's usually something that's very serious, and they're ready to get the ball rolling on a project.
Yeah, word of mouth advertising is, for any business, I think one of the most powerful tools that you can have under your belt. I have literally gone to family gatherings and I just tell my family what I do, and then, my extended family, they hear that. And then, sure enough, they know somebody that, owns a business that maybe needs a video, that maybe needs a photo, maybe wants a studio rental, anything. And, I found that most people, you'd be surprised, would have a business that needs marketing related things with video or photography or anything. And if they don't, I'm sure they know somebody in their inner circle that does. And my favorite thing to do is to always go back, to my family events and then show them what I'm filming. And then, and they're like, oh, I have a friend who actually might need this, and stuff like that. So it's very powerful to start off with your friends and family when you're starting your business. That will give you so many more leads than I think you can even imagine.
Yeah, that's a really good note. I remember at first when we first started the business, it was like, oh, we need to advertise, we need to do this. And it was like, I was almost completely blind to the fact that there's so many leads right in front of you that all you have to do is show somebody a little video that you made, and all of a sudden they're excited about working with you.
Going off of that too, and like I said earlier about, having overhead and rent and stuff, having a studio also gives you the opportunity to do studio rentals in the area. People, I think we found that is actually pretty popular around here. We didn't think there was a big market for it, but we did a little bit of marketing for it where, we put things on our Instagram, and we had friends and family, repost some of our stuff about it. But we've had a lot of traffic from that, and that actually helps us pay our rent a lot of the time every month. We have, rentals. Sometimes in 1 month we'll have between 3 and 4 rentals come, which is amazing. And, if you have a really good, nice setup with a few backdrops and a few lights set up, you can literally pay your rent with just a handful of studio rentals a month. And that's a very, very lucrative thing that you can do for your business.
Yeah, and that goes along with having the physical location, having a place where people can come and experience our studio and our business, then it gives them something to talk about, and more people kind of like pick up on that. I think a lot of people reposted us on Instagram with some of the images they made in our studio, and that gives us a lot of traffic towards the other end of our business, which is, making videos for people. Another tip we have is something that's taken us a long time to develop, which would be our price structure and our contracts. I remember in the beginning, we were basically just asking people, how much money do you have? What is this going to pay? And that's not really a good way to do business. At first, it's fine, because any video you make, as long as you have creative control, will help build your portfolio, help you get more work. But at some point, you have to be the one setting the price and knowing what your overhead is, so that you're not doing a bunch of jobs, wasting your time, and not getting paid enough money, because that won't be sustainable. It's not always as simple as that. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to pricing, and I think it's good to be flexible.
It's good to be flexible when you have, client that has like a budget that is maybe, just under what, you're charging them, and, being flexible, that will help you, even maybe get more leads in the future from that. I'm not saying you should always undercut yourselves, because we've run into that where we had a streak of where we would just, keep giving people discounts, and then we had to take a step back and say, like, all right, we gotta stop doing this, because we are running a business, and we can't keep doing people favors. So it's okay to do that once in a while, because that has helped us, get even more leads, because the people that we worked with their budget, they recommended us to somebody else. So it's beneficial to do that sometimes, but it's always good, like Adam said, to know what you're worth, know what you do, know your overhead, so that you are charging correctly.
And going right along with pricing, an important part of the transaction would be having a contract in place. Everybody thinks that this is something that's super formal, but doesn't. It is a formality, but it's important to have, because it just communicates to the client what they're getting, what the boundaries are. No matter how close the person is to you, it's important to have a contract in place. That way, when something goes slightly wrong, you kind of know the answers already. You're not missing out on money that was promised to you, or vice versa. You're not under-delivering, which is rarely the case, I think, for anybody. It's more usually the creative is the one that's getting burned. But
yeah, creating contracts, in my opinion, really helps you stay on track with the project, because in the contract you write out what the customer is getting in terms of assets and deliverables and stuff like that. So having that set in mind will help you really prioritize your time and your energy, because if you don't have a contract in place that goes over what you're delivering, sometimes you might go above and beyond to make them happy, or just to be nice, and that takes a lot of time and energy when you could be doing other things. So having a contract really gives you tunnel vision on that project, and ensures that you give all of your energy to that project and those deliverables, so that you're not distracted by making other things. And I think it really helps keep the whole project itself on track.
Yeah, and exactly when it comes down to resource management, being able to make sure that you can provide the finished product. So if they're asking for you to revise it 100 times, that's going to take you months of work that you could be doing other work on, and it's not what you charged for, and you're going to end up losing money. So it's important to have all of those details in the contract, especially when you're hiring editors, because then, the more time they spend on a project, the more money you're paying them to work on that project, and eventually you're just going to start losing money. So our last tip for this video would be to invest in the right equipment. And that doesn't necessarily mean buy a bunch of fancy equipment right up front, but it's more so about figuring out what are the right things, what do you need to actually operate your business, and what will elevate the product versus what is something that you just want to have. So a big thing for us was, in the beginning, the first thing you want to do is buy a nice fancy camera. Eventually we did do that, but it takes time, and that's not the first move you want to make. What's more important in video production is making sure you have all ends of the video covered. So making sure you have a decent camera. You don't have to have the best camera right off the bat. Just something to start with, something that will record video. But more importantly, having good audio and good lighting, as well as a good storage solution and a way to edit the videos and output the videos. There's a lot more that goes into the cost of making a video than people assume. It's not just the camera, the lighting, and the audio. You gotta have a place to store all the files. You gotta have the proper software. You gotta have the proper licenses for things. And it's important to understand how big of an investment it will be and where to prioritize that investment. So, if you have $10,000 to start your business, don't go and buy a $7,000 camera and spend $3,000 on a computer, because there's 100 other things that you will need, like having a good case, having, every having a hard drive to store your footage on.
Adam is he's the equipment person. He knows the most about cameras and gear and stuff. So I kind of just always like followed suit with him, and I learned a lot. But from learning all of that information, my biggest tip for, having equipment or investing in the right equipment for a business would be to buy camera and lenses, or I guess any equipment really that is versatile. We have, like a few Sony cameras that are very good. You can bring them along with you. They're very good for interviews. They're very good for, putting on a gimbal and getting really cool shots. A lens that I like a lot that's very versatile is we have a 24-105 f4 lens here, and that gives you a wide range for, a good focal length for interviews, as well as, like tighter shots for, detail shots. So getting things that are versatile will really help elevate your business, and it will help you cut corners with cost until you, have more income.
Yeah, you might not be buying the best specialized thing at first, like a camera that's specifically good at one thing, or a lens that's specifically good at one thing, like Rick was saying. It's important to have something that can get you everything you need to make a video, and not just do one thing really, really well, which is, it's hard to kind of figure that out because everybody all around you on YouTube, at least from my experience, was saying, oh, this is the best, this is what you want, but it was the best for a specific scenario, or it was the best for them. It might not be the best for every situation you run into. So that's something to really take into account, and something that you probably won't entirely understand until you have the experience where you run into something that, maybe you bought a $10,000 camera that's great, but can you do everything you need to with it? Yeah, I think it's largely about, when it comes to investing in the right equipment, it's largely about thinking about the things that will produce content that will make you money, and not just the things that look pretty or will make a pretty picture, because it's the extra 5% that we're super interested in, that we really like the look of it or the feel of it or the specific shot it can get. But, it's largely about the 95% of being able to get a bunch of different shots that will tell a story, that will make your client happy.
I guess the last thing that I'll say in terms of equipment that I think that always needs to be said, that everybody likes to joke about it, but drone cinematography is a very, very big thing right now, and I still think that there's a pretty good market for it. So I would say invest your time into learning how to fly, and starting out with a smaller drone, maybe like the Mavic Mini or something, and really get to know and understand drones, because I think that in the future there will always be work for drone, for video, photo, everything. There's a very wide range of things that in regards to drones, and we have gotten so many jobs from just having a few drones in general. I mean, all the way down to like a specific drone that we have, the DJI Inspire 2. People will request that, and we're one of the only production companies in our area that have that drone. So there's a lot of things you can do with that, and I think it's really important to invest some kind of time and energy or money into drones, in the near future.
Yeah, I think the same can be said for like gimbals. A lot of people look at it like, oh, it's just a gimmick, or it's not the best. And I don't like gimbals a whole lot, but they do get you a lot of shots. They might not be perfect for a lot of shots, but they get you a good result. And I think that's important in considering when you're doing it as a business, because you typically have only so much time or so many chances to get the right shot. At least the work we deal with, mostly for small businesses, a lot of the stuff we do, it's not set up, it's not a stage, it's not in a production environment, it's more so at somebody's facility. So having a gimbal allows you to capture a lot of different shots in a short amount of time, and I think that's important. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of them. I try to always use the camera in a different way to get a different look or a different shot, or at least use the gimbal with intention to get a certain type of shot. But there's been so many times where we'll be going through an edit and we find a lot of shots that we maybe weren't super intentional, but they work really well with the story because they look good, there's a little bit of movement, it's steady, and I think that has really saved us a handful of times.
Well, thanks for watching. I hope you guys like these kind of videos. We love making them, and we're hoping to make more, business related videos in the future, and obviously camera and gear related videos. So if you want to see those, leave us a comment, ask us, if we talked about a piece of equipment today, if you'd like us to do a deep dive on it, let us know.
As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.